Well, I'd like to introduce everybody. My name is Dr. Chris Montanaro, and very pleased and excited to have a few different guests on with us today. We've got Sarah and Jeremy in the United States, stateside at the moment, and then we've got Blake, who's, I believe, over in Japan at the moment. So we've got people kind of coming in from all over the place. I personally know Sarah and Jeremy a little bit better. They are actually the ones who introduced me to Wakaya, and was really excited to find out about some of the products that they're using. I've always, throughout all of my history and my practice, utilized a ketogenic type of a diet with my patients, and when they follow that, usually some of the best results that even some of the most difficult patients have seen some amazing results with. So it got me really excited when you can actually take that process and make it that much easier on a patient, or even from the doctor's perspective, so that they can apply it and utilize it with their own patients. I kind of do that from both sides, where I've got a lot of doctors that I teach around the country and trying to help them treating their patients in a clinical setting, and then on the patient side to help them be able to utilize and make use of these type of products to be able to make the lifestyle changes so that they can see the biggest health benefits that they can as well. So I was actually going to have Sarah and Jeremy introduce Blake a little bit more, since they know him a little bit better, and I'll pass it over to you.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, so Blake is an amazing man of integrity. His heart really, truly is for the people. He is a motivational speaker. He is top 1% in the industry. He's actually a multi-million-dollar earner. He's been featured in the top networkers of the world. He is brilliant. He is extremely knowledgeable on our products. Much of what we've actually learned from Blake. And he is just an amazing man of integrity. He's a true leader. He loves people. And you can just see that, from the way he talks. And, he is there to lift anybody and everybody up. And he's just such an encouragement in our lives. And
yeah, one of the main things that he's taught us is basically with his story is his father unfortunately passed away, and he didn't have the proper things on him to assist his father at the time. So basically, he taught us that we always want to be prepared, to give an answer. And so basically, he's taught us to always carry products to help people and always try to be a blessing in other people's lives by helping them, offer solutions to their problems. So it's an amazing honor for us to be able to be on this webinar with him, and he's just taught us so much. He's a wonderful, an encyclopedia of knowledge for health and wellness. A lot of things that aren't taught in maybe medical school is the nutrition side of medicine and the nutrition side of health. And he's actually studied that, and he's just an expert in that area, in that field of study. So without further ado, please welcome Blake Graham from Japan.
Thank you very much. I should probably make a couple amendments on that introduction. I know your people are always so generous, but really my specialty, I started out in pre-med, and in pre-med, as you know, Dr. Chris, you study chemistry, you study biochemistry, you study physics, which I still don't know why we study physics, after 20 some odd years, but we studied physics, we studied calculus, but one of the things that is not a requirement for medicine, in fact, we were told that between 4 years of undergraduate work and 4 years of graduate work at medical school, we could expect one 30-minute lecture on this subject with no test, which means if you sleep through it, if you don't sleep through it, it's the same, right? And that was nutrition. And it was probably 26 years ago when there was a nutritional company that was opening up in Japan, and I lived in Japan and spoke Japanese. And I was asked to do some translation work, and they kept quoting medical journals about this thing called antioxidants, how antioxidants help prevent cancer. And I thought, that's kind of a big deal, especially if you're going into medicine, that cancer, how many people die from cancer? So I asked my professor about this. Is there any truth to this antioxidants helping to prevent cancer. And he said something to me that stuck with me all these years. He said to me, he really kind of blew it off and said, that's a bunch of lies. And that surprised me because this company, when they're quoting medical journals, they didn't seem like they were leading people astray. And I thought, well, but if they are, if they're just one of those that are really good at misdirection, that it should be pretty easy to prove because you just go look up the information in medical journals. And today it's easier than ever because we have a resource called PubMed.gov. And probably one of the things that I do specialize in is I've got enough background in the science that I will read a lot of those articles. I'll do some research and look up ketogenic diet and something, ginger and something, turmeric and something, right? And see what the latest research is. And I was surprised, I was thinking initially that maybe the research was just so brand new that my doctor didn't know about it. I mean, when I say my doctor, he was actually the head of the entire pre-med department. And he was an MD, and I just thought maybe he just didn't know about it because it was brand new. And lo and behold, at that time, it wasn't even PubMed, it was called Medline. There were 800 articles in Medline. And now if you go and look up antioxidants at PubMed.gov, which index a whole bunch more of these medical journals, you're going to see probably over 400,000 articles. Ketogenic research has just been absolutely growing, and I'm always amazed to see recently what's happening. The ketogenic research in autism, ketogenic research. Recently I've been looking into that and the results with depression and just absolutely astounding results with blood sugar and all of the different diseases of blood sugar imbalances, right? There is just so much information out there. And I think it's really a shame, and this is kind of where, I'm not a doctor. I started in pre-med, but really my kind of claim to fame has been a health journalist. I've worked with some amazing doctors. I've helped produce some amazing tools. I've had one gentleman that I worked with that actually helped change health regulations in the United States twice, in fact, and that included not just the science, but actually taking the fight to the FDA and taking it to the courts. And another gentleman I worked with was actually an official nominated for the Nobel Prize in Medicine. We did 2 tours in Japan together, and I translated for him at some of the major universities over here, like Tokyo University, Waseda University, kind of the Harvard and Yale, if you would, of Japan. And the information about real natural healing is just absolutely, to me, absolutely incredible. And what I love to see, and this is where I wish we paid more attention, I'm sure Dr. Chris, you're familiar with this. When it comes to medicine, which field of medicine should be the one that you choose? Is it the one that has the most advertisements on TV? I mean, you can turn on late night TV anywhere and see all sorts of advertisements that essentially say, "Are you sick? You're supposed to be sick. We have a drug for that." Or is it the one that has the most research in the medical journal? Because there's a whole bunch of the medical journals, and you can look up nutrition. And I think actually there's even a third standard, which to me is the better standard, and that's results. How do we help people get results? And when we can help people get results, and sometimes even with just the very first visit, if you would, you help people get results. To me, that means something. And I look forward to a time in America and hopefully throughout the world that we actually have a system of medicine where we look at results first instead of looking at profits first. And too many times you see with the pharmaceutical companies, they will do research on nutrition, but they won't ever, they'll kind of block its use with the average doctor. And that's one of the reasons there was no real nutritional training in Western medicine when I was going through school there. But they block it because they don't make money when people are using nutrients. They don't even make money when people are healthy. They make money when people are sick. And so we need a system of medicine that, instead of making money when people are sick, to me, helps people to be healthy, where we make money by helping people get healthy, not by taking a disease and treating it for the life of the patient and never getting at the root cause, but something that actually turns things around. And that's one of the reasons that I'm excited when I was told about you, Dr. Chris, from Sarah and Jeremy, and that I would be excited if there's any way that I can help out. I'd love to help out. Again, I'm not the doctor, but I do specialize really in kind of that natural health journalist, if you would, and love to pull up research and actually quote what's in the medical journals. And it's interesting that even today, I did a post just recently about a documentary out of England on the ketogenic diet, and a gentleman who just said, "I'm going to try it for 3 weeks and document it." And his doctor says, "Oh, you're going to kill yourself. You're going to do yourself so much harm." And at the end of it, they were still very skeptical, but there was no denying that he was doing better. And even after watching that documentary, the people that'll still go and pull up, from me, my standpoint, it looks like propaganda from people that'll say, "No, no, we love our carbs. We want to eat carbs. People shouldn't be eating fat." And it's unfortunate that instead of embracing true results, that so many people are really stuck with medical dogmas, and thinking, "Oh no, I was always told low fat, so it's got to be low fat, right?" And a lot of what we do, if we want to help people get results, requires a change in mindset. And that's why I'm so excited about education, is we have to change the mindset. When you change the mindset, if you're working with doctors, I had the opportunity to work with a group of about 5,000 doctors that had come into our organization, and we're all excited about natural products. They had this herbal line that was, and their whole thing was purity. We want no flavorings, right? No preservatives. Everything's got to be 100% pure. And when we first started working together, they had a lot of concerns, and I said, "Well, I understand purity. I think that's a great standard, but," I said, "can I propose to you a different standard?" Because when they started working with us, they were concerned because we actually had products that tasted good, which means there were flavorings added, and they're like, "No, no, we like purity." And I said, "Well, what if I'd submit to you, purity is a good standard, but there's a higher one." And that's when I said, results. You need to look at results. And if you have products that taste good, you have products that people like to use, we're going to have a better time with compliance. You're going to get people to use it more often, to share it with their friends, right? And frankly, they're going to get better results if they stick with it. And that's why, as much as we wish that all you have to do is look at the research and combine those nutrients in their product formulation, so much beyond that, because you got to get a product that people like it enough that they want to take it again and again and again. And I think that's so important in working with natural practitioners, if you would, natural healing, natural health practitioners. I had one gentleman, we started working together. He was a chiropractor out of St. George, and he kept tracking in his first year when he started involved in natural health, and actually used education. So he didn't just, patients would just come in and he'd do a treatment with them and encourage them to use products. He actually would send them home with CDs and books and things to study. And he saw that within a year, his practice actually grew by 30% in revenue with no increase at all in cost. And what was interesting is about half of that growth was even outside of his geographical area. People that were actually coming to him to get involved with the nutrients and the products. They wanted some help there. People are looking for a way to get better results. And when you've got some answers there, a lot of people can even seek you out if you'll help educate them on how to get those answers. And that's just something that I've been absolutely fascinated with natural healing in general, and very specifically with the ketogenic diet.
I couldn't agree with you more. And from my perspective in the medical field, it's not really, I don't even think legal to say I'm going to guarantee you a very specific outcome. But I've actually gotten to the point lately where I've told patients, I'm going to guarantee you results within the next 2 visits, or I won't even take you on as a patient. And that actually hasn't even happened yet, because there's always some level of results that you can get, whether it's biomechanically improvements in range of motion, or decreases in pain, or any number of different objective and subjective measurements that we can use. And far and above anything, you can do research in a perfectly built laboratory and get something to work out a certain way, but the laboratory is the real world in this case, and there's so many different variables that come into play. And when something happens in a textbook, it doesn't always mean that's what's going to happen. A textbook walk into your office and function that way, and that's why it's so exciting, especially with the results that you see with Sarah and Jeremy. They've lost an incredible amount of weight and changed their life and health in so many different ways, both on the physical, mental, spiritual side, as well as even on the financial side. And that's what's really so exciting, is when you can see people take that information and create the result in real life and make it duplicatable for the masses. I was hoping that Sarah and Jeremy might even chime in briefly, and they can talk about some of those results that they've had personally.
Yes, absolutely. So when we actually found Wakaya Perfection, we didn't think that we were looking. And it's amazing how sometimes God has other plans for you. I've actually had 2 brain injuries since 2011, and I have not driven in 7 years. I'm close to being able to drive again. I was actually just getting ready to drive about 2 years ago, where I was involved in another car accident, and all of my symptoms came rushing back. Originally, I had had a traumatic brain injury, and I had optic nerve involvement. And after this accident, the symptoms just came back. I was having daily migraines. I was having to use a cane to get around. I was on 10 or 12 different prescription medications at the time, and I was just on a vicious cycle. The doctors just kept trying me on different drugs, and that one works, so they try me on another one. And at this point in time, I was actually in the hospital, in the ER, and a teammate called me. And the funny thing about this story is she knew I was in the hospital, but she was so excited. And she said, "I'm so excited. I just joined this brand new company. I partnered up with billionaire founder of Fiji Water. He believes this brand new health and wellness company is going to be even bigger. Would you be open to taking a look?" And because we just respect her wisdom and her leadership, and I said, "Yeah, I'll take a look," but I wasn't expecting to be interested. And I went home from the hospital, told Jeremy about it, and I was having daily migraines. I was in bed. It was terrible. And I said, "Take a look at this." And I thought I was going to have to convince you. And you're like, "No, we need to do this." And at the time, we stepped out in faith. We were actually in danger of losing our house. Jeremy had lost his job. We were struggling to put food on the table. We were on food stamps. We actually borrowed to even get started because we just realized, you realized what the opportunity was with this. And right around this time, I started taking our high-impact turmeric and ginger, and Blake can attest to this. The curcumin component in our turmeric was over 5 times more potent, and our pink Fijian ginger is actually 3 times more potent. So I started taking this turmeric and ginger, and everybody's story is different, and our products aren't, they're not created to, treat or cure, but this is my story. So in about a month's worth of time, I was able to stop using my cane. Headaches started to decrease, and within about 3 months, I was able to come off all of the prescription medications. So now I'm no longer chemically dependent on doctors. And when I forget or when I don't take the turmeric and ginger, the symptoms start rushing back. I start getting daily migraines. Now I'm lucky if I get 1 or 2 migraines a month. Sometimes I don't get any. And with the ketogenic diet lifestyle, we've been doing this a little over a year now. And you want to share?
Yeah, we actually just we launched originally with turmeric, ginger, and some calcium bentonite clay. The only calcium bentonite clay that, to our knowledge, that's approved safe to consume by the FDA. And we were originally a detox company, and I know,
kind of evolved.
Yeah, and when we were at our first convention, I know just prior to that convention and around that time, our co-founder Todd Smith was throwing around the idea, and I think Blake probably was involved in that conversation as well, throwing around the idea of the ketogenic lifestyle. And one thing that our founder, billionaire founder, David Gilmour, said to Todd at the convention was he was just so sad because, we're a health and wellness company, but look at our ambassadors, our 400 and almost 500 ambassadors that showed up at our pre-launch convention. Most of them are overweight, and 7 out of 10 people are looking for what we have here. And we've tried so many other fad things in the past, fad diets. We've tried a few other things where we've lost some weight, but then we gained it all back because ultimately you're not taught how to eat. And then ketogenic lifestyle, we call it a lifestyle instead of a diet because we truly believe it's a lifestyle, and we believe that you can live off this for the rest of your lives ultimately. So that has been amazing for us, and we've had some amazing results with that. We actually launched the ketogenic lifestyle. We partnered up with 17-time men's health cover model, Owen McKibben, and he's actually our fitness trainer. And he does daily calls, weekly calls for us, and we have a Facebook group community where we invite people to go. So we've got a great support system for training and motivation. So it's wonderful to just plug people into that. And actually, I lost 65 pounds. We began the ketogenic lifestyle in February. Last year, I wasn't 100% into it because I was like, oh no, another weight loss shake. Are you kidding me? It's probably going to taste like all the others, like cardboard and everything like that. But we tried it, and I was just blown away because it was a great flavor. And I should have had more faith in my leaders at the time. They really are truly leading us in the right way. And it's got a great like vanilla cake mix taste to it. And that's what we launched with. And we also launched with a burn pill, an all natural, basically it's similar to phentermine, the effects of it, but it's all natural. So you can enjoy the mental clarity. It's called the burn pill. And you can enjoy mental clarity, appetite suppressant, and it's a metabolic accelerator. So it really helps to curb your appetite too when you're beginning the ketogenic lifestyle, along with going through the ketogenic lifestyle. So we'll generally take 2 of those a day, which is great.
Incredible energy.
Yes.
We say we burn, baby, burn.
And also with my story, last year, like I said, I wasn't completely sold out, and but I just changed my way of eating to the ketogenic lifestyle, and I lost 30 pounds within, from when we began till like December of last year. And we also have an exercising aspect to it as well. Once I implemented the full program, started exercising, another 35 pounds came off within, 90 days in our last challenge that we had. So that was pretty awesome. So yeah, now we're fully 100% on board with the ketogenic lifestyle and the program. So it's pretty awesome. And Sarah's got a great story as well.
Yeah, I'm actually down 32 pounds overall on keto. And my overall health and wellness journey actually started in 2012 after my injury at work, where I received a traumatic brain injury. I'm down almost 100 pounds. I'm about maybe 8 pounds away from being down 100 pounds on my wellness journey. And I think you need to be to the point where I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I was almost 250 pounds. I was like, you know what? I don't want to get any bigger than this. Doctors were talking about how they wanted to put me on blood pressure medication, and I did not want to go down that path. So like when you know that you're willing to do whatever it takes, no matter what, and you're dialed into your goals, you're dialed into your dreams, you're going to do whatever it takes to achieve that goal. And that's what I've done. And it, like Jeremy says, it really, truly is a lifestyle. And we were actually able to retire Jeremy at age 40 back in October. So now we're doing Wakaya full-time on a part-time basis. And it's just amazing to be able to experience the time and financial freedom with Wakaya. We're being able to travel all over the United States, and I'm sure world, hopefully to Japan and all over. But the kids are being able to experience this lifestyle as well, and they're able to see these amazing states and to see this awesome world. And it's wonderful to be able to have that time freedom, to not have to go to work, and the opportunity that we all have at hand to be involved at the very beginning of, like what I shared earlier, that David Gilmour, billionaire. I mean, how often in your life do you have a chance to partner up with a billionaire, right? At the very beginning. And where would you be in some of these companies that have been around for a long time? Probably be on an island somewhere, right? Like Wakaya Island. And this is that kind of opportunity that we have. And we have these amazing, life-changing, as Blake says, high-impact products where people are seeing results, where people are having, developing testimonies and developing their story. And the cool thing about this is a lot of people that we've brought in, at first, they're like, no, I don't want to do the business. But it's amazing how when they start developing their story and they start losing weight, there's been a lot of people that have been able to come off of their prescription medications with their doctor's help. And, there's been life-changing stories. And when this happens and you see results, you can't help but share with other people. And that's how they're being successful in the business aspect as well. So it's really exciting. And Blake, you can correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure in the BullFit program, I think we're right around maybe over 40 people that have lost over 100 pounds and they're keeping the weight off.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing as well. I got excited about this ketogenic diet. Probably it's been over 4 years ago when I had a friend that dropped 60 pounds, and he was one of those people that I had worked with and was always excited about weight loss. He had been involved in the Cambridge diet and done very well there, and so was excited for weight loss. But I would say to he and I would work together, and I said, well, as excited as you are for weight loss, we were really not the role models, you and I. And when he dropped 60 pounds, I started paying attention. I'm like, okay, what is it that you did? And we started working together on this ketogenic diet. And one of the things that was kind of true of the ketogenic diet is, and this is probably 5-6 years ago. And I don't remember the exact time, but looking at the ketogenic diet, it was before it really hit the mainstream, and it was hard to do. There weren't a lot of support products out there, so you had to shop different, you had to eat different, everything was different, and it was hard to get into ketosis and easy to get out. And Jeremy and Sarah have shared some of their results, but I was one of those that was trying this ketogenic diet, and I just couldn't get it to work. The one time I finally got it to work was when I was traveling for a month and wasn't around my wife and kids and all of her great cooking, right? Because it's easy to get your body out of ketosis if you look at how the body is designed. Really, the good Lord put in us a backup mechanism, or if you would, it's actually a kind of by divine design a safety mechanism, because there are times when food is very plentiful, and then you have insulin that is bringing insulin reactions, and when you have a lot of calories that you're not burning up, it's storing that as fat, and so our body has become very adapted at storing fat. And then other times when food wasn't as plentiful, and this wasn't just times of famine like you talk about with Joseph in ancient Egypt, when Pharaoh had this dream of 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Well, that's one actually an excellent example of keto, because if you look at what they did for 7 years of plenty, they didn't save up half the food, they saved up 20% of the food. They only saved 20% of the food, and they fed that entire country plus all the surrounding areas, and even food for their animals, if you would, for 7 years after that. Well, how do you do that on only 20% if you've saved up, right? They say they had a bumper crop. That doesn't mean it's sevenfold. It might be double, but when your body is in ketosis, you're actually able to access stored calories. You don't have to have all the calories in your food. And that was a beautiful thing. Bears do it all the time in hibernation. If you look at, and this is something else that's always amazing to me in science, the way everything is designed is the structure kind of fits the function. If you look at animals, for example, those that are plant eaters will have molars because they grind up the food. And if you look at the animals and they do this with dinosaur fossils all the time, if they're a carnivore or a meat eater, they have canines, they have sharp teeth. Well, what about you and I? What do we have? And the answer is we have both. We have both molars and we have canines. We're supposed to be an omnivore. And our bodies actually, when we're eating some of that fat, it's what satiates the body, and it helps feed the brain. One of the things that, if you don't mind, I want to just share a screen there, because we're talking about traumatic brain injuries. And I had a dear friend of mine that had a stroke and, is in a nursing home, and he's actually on a feeding tube. And doing the research on how do we help rebuild the brain, one of the things that comes up is ketones. And if it's all right, I'd love to share. I don't know if I can share a screen, but there's some research here from the Journal of the Biomedical Central Cancer Journal. Actually talks about ketones being not just a source of energy, but being able to provide the building blocks for the rebuilding of myelin. And if you think of myelin, what is that? That's all the things in the brain that make everything work. The insulation that gets the signals going to the right place. And when you have the signals going to the right place, I think we can share this now. When you have the signals going to the right place.
There you go.
Okay, can you see that all right?
Yep.
This is just something that's absolutely fascinating to me. I'm one that loves the science behind it. But in our brains, if you ever have the time when you look at your kids and you call them by the wrong name, or you have a word and you can't get to that word, you know, that thing, what's that thing? That can be a sign that the myelin around the nerve is actually frayed. And instead of the signal going to one child, it jumps and grabs a sibling because of that damage to the myelin sheath. And the beautiful thing about the ketogenic lifestyle is it's really good at rebuilding that. So many people talk about their thinking is clear, their memory is clear. And yes, that can be part of the energy, but also we have the ability with these ketones to actually have the building blocks to rebuild the myelin. And this is so great for all of the people who struggle from any number of health concerns that come from a demyelinization or breakdown of the myelin sheath. And that's not just in the brain, that's also in our nerves. And you know, whenever we talk about products, I try not to talk about diseases, but it's so amazing when you look at the function of how the body works. It just absolutely blows me away. And with all of this great research, again, I'll go back to my story. I was one that struggled to lose weight with the ketogenic diet. I was involved in researching and kind of the predecessor for our shake, and in doing this research, wanting something that tastes good, that's easy to make. My friend, like I said, had dropped 60 pounds, and I wasn't dropping any weight until I was completely away from my wife and kids for a month, and was able to subsist on this shake that we had built and cream cheese. And really, that's all I did for a month, and I dropped quite a bit of weight, and then I dropped 15 pounds in a month, which you know, was more than I ever expected. And then I went back home, and my wife had made a gluten-free brownie recipe, and she said to me, she's like, "Oh, come on, you can try just one piece. You know, one piece isn't going to take you out of your diet, right? Come on, one piece, you got to try it," because he was really proud of this recipe. So I tried, and it wasn't even a full brownie. It was probably like a fourth of a brownie. I mean, it was just a little bit, but I could feel it. I mean, I was back into that sugar burning mode, and my energy. I don't know if you've ever worked with, well, I'm sure you have worked with people that get sleepy after meals, that would wake up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, or have problems concentrating, maybe after lunch, right? Less effective then. But that was me to a T, and I could feel it when I was out of it. And sure enough, my weight loss didn't just stall, but it started to come back on. Well, when I was explaining this to the co-founder at Wakaya and the president there, one of the criticisms of the ketogenic diet, they said, "Well, Blake, if it's so good, how come you aren't losing any weight?" And you know, that kind of hurt, but it was true. And then we had enough made that I took some to the office, and this was when initially when we were doing the research on the shake, we would do a research batch, and we actually had a double-blind study that we got started, and then ran out of products halfway through that we couldn't even finish the study. But people were getting such great results with it. But I took it in, they loved the taste, and we had one person in our office drop 30 pounds, another one dropped 10, and there were two of us that didn't really drop anything. And then one of the executives there at Wakaya actually had a good friend that's in the supplement industry that brought him a combination, and it was a capsule and this actually vegetable protein shake. And he says it doesn't taste good, but it really works for helping people get into ketosis. And we tried, and he was right, it didn't taste very good. But that capsule that he had formulated, which became our burn pill, when I tried that for the first time, and he gave us a sample, he gave us 7 capsules, so that was the sample, right? And there were already so many people we had 4 or 5 people on the products there in the office. And when he gave it to us, Mike Casperson took 2, and Todd took 2, and they gave me 3 because they say, "Blake, you need the most help," right? And so it was just one a day. You know, originally it was a bigger capsule, but just one a day. And I thought, well, we'll put this to the test to see if it really works, because the scientist was very, very proud of it. He's actually Harvard trained MD, and he was very proud of this formula. And when we tried it, I tried it on Thanksgiving, didn't notice anything, but the day after Thanksgiving, I had my second one. And day after Thanksgiving, we're trying to do something with the families. We're in line for laser tag at one of these amusement places, and it was lunchtime, and everybody was hungry. And my wife we have a young one that it was still in diapers at the time. I had the diaper bag, opened it up, and there were some chips in there. And everybody was having a few chips. They asked if I wanted some, and I'm one that chips were one of my weaknesses. But I was like, no, I'm okay, and it kind of surprised me. I was okay. Not that it wasn't willpower. It's just that it's like you feel satisfied. And he explained that capsule was actually formulated to help increase dopamine levels in the brain, so that you're not full, you're content, you're satisfied. And I remember when I got after that sample, I got my first one on the January 26th, and we had so many people that were seeing results, and I didn't have any more capsules, but I was in Japan. And when I got back from Japan on the 25th, with jet lag, I fell asleep at 8, woke up at midnight, was up till 4 a.m. and snapped. And then I had a meeting the next night and got my first official burn capsules. And I tried it at 6 p.m. at night. And they say, oh, don't try it at night. I'm like, oh, come on, I'm fighting jet lag. I'm going to be okay. But I tried it at 6 p.m. and I was still up till 4 a.m. I didn't have a nap in the middle, and I didn't have any snacking. And that's when everything started to change for me. And for the first time, I felt like, wow, ketogenic can work for me. So I don't know that you can say that ketogenic is absolutely easy for everyone, but it's a whole lot easier and a whole lot more effective when you have some of those components that can make it more effective, that you can get into ketosis easier. One of the things that's been amazing, we always heard about the keto flu. You're going to go through either a few days or maybe even a few weeks of misery before you get into this magical zone called ketosis. And when you have products that make it easier and products that help shift your body, like the burn capsule, when that happens, we've had so many people that are doing it. They never even go through this keto flu, and somebody else has the keto flu, and they don't even know what that is. What do you mean keto flu? I never experienced the keto flu, but some people still do. We just now have ways to help you get through there easier and not feel bad. And if you're having any of those symptoms of low blood sugar or the keto flu, the other thing that's absolutely amazing to me are the exogenous ketones. And they have a product where exogenous ketones not only taste good, it helps with digestion and moving things along your digestive tract. Gives you a lot of these different, especially fruits. You don't get a lot of fruits on the ketogenic diet, but they've actually added a lot of these fruit extracts, so you get some of the nutrients for it in that amazing product called the Fizz. And I love the Fizz. I'm a big fan of the Fizz. I will admit I was, most people probably do one a day. I would do 2 or 3. I'm probably back to 1 to 2 a day now that we have another product called the Sport and Go, which is fabulous for thyroid support. And I know, I deal with so many chiropractors and natural healing doctors that have people come to them all the time, and they think, I think my metabolism's messed up from my thyroid. I think there's a problem with my thyroid. So many people have issues there. But I had a friend that was told she's had thyroid issues, and she tried it, and within a week, she's like, I feel better. I feel a lot better. And, from so many different angles, having products to help support the way the body's supposed to run, to make it easier for people, to make it more convenient and more effective is just one of the things that I'm real excited about. And if you don't mind, I did have one other thing that I wanted to share, because I think this is a big deal. And we sometimes with the ketogenic diet or ketogenic lifestyle, we don't talk enough about it. But there is absolutely incredible information on the ketogenic diet and blood sugar support. There is so much amazing information. And so if it's okay, let me share this screen for just a minute and see if you get it.
Yep.
Okay. Because, I have experienced this myself, and I have got a lot of friends that know exactly what it is from some level of it, because oftentimes my friends would talk about getting hangry. It's like, I'm getting a little hangry. Maybe we should go get something to eat, when they were kind of hungry and irritable at the same time. And you see that when blood sugar is going up and down. They call it the glycemic roller coaster. It goes up and your body goes into fat storage mode, and then it goes down because, when you're getting sleepy after meal, it's really not the way it's supposed to be. Would you imagine that you would ever take your car to a gas station, fill it up with gas, and then it wouldn't run very fast afterwards. You couldn't get it out of second gear. Now you'd say there's either something wrong with the car or something wrong with the gas, right? But that's how it is. We eat lunch and then we just expect that we're going to get sleepy afterwards. For some people, it's the way it's always is, because your body goes in that fat storing mode, and that can either be when you're getting tired, you're running out of energy, you feel like you're physically full and going to the refrigerator to see what looks good to eat, right? That can be a sign of it. Or many times a lack of concentration, or when it seems like you work really hard at losing weight. And I did this where, I made the commitment to my wife, I'm going to lose weight. And so we jogged 30 minutes a day, every day but Sunday for a month, dropped a couple of pounds. And in one weekend, when it was my nephew's birthday, and my niece had made her very first birthday cake. And when your niece makes her first birthday cake, it's about the people, right? If people are more important. And I tried one piece, and the second piece I tried probably because it tasted really good on the first piece. But in one weekend, I had undone an entire month of, to me, it wasn't real exciting exercise. It was really, it was something that I had struggled with, and I wasn't happy jogging for 30 minutes every day. It wasn't just walking, it was actually jogging. And I thought, with all of that misery from one weekend, to undo that, I was so discouraged. But one of the things we see with this, and it's all over the place with the research on the ketogenic diet, when your blood sugar is rising and falling with each meal, your body's going into fat storage mode. And this is why people want to fall asleep after lunch. It's this glycemic roller coaster that we talk about. And it's not just weight gain, but it's also fatigue and mental fog and irritability. And when you look at what the ketogenic diet, by replacing the carbs with healthy fats, we can stabilize blood sugar and get great energy all throughout the day. And even the global diabetes community talks about the ketogenic diet and for helping to balance glucose levels and help reduce weight. And whenever we're using those ketones, it gives us great energy, which they also say, what's great is on the ketogenic diet, there's less need for other medication. And I've seen research on that one. This is one I love from the Journal of Nutritional Metabolism out of London. And this one came out in 2005, and they just talked about, this was a pilot study, and this is 13 years ago, but this pilot study, they compared the ketogenic diet with people that needed medication, and they need a lot less medication. There's so many other things that they talked about, but you see a decrease in the A1C, an improvement in the blood sugar ones, and in fact, many of them had to change their medication. So when you're dealing with people on the ketogenic diet, if they're on medication, hopefully they're working with the doctor that either understands how to adjust the medication when you don't need as much, or one that understands the ketogenic diet, or they understand how to do their own adjustment, because that's one of the things that'll happen is they probably, when your body gets healthier, we expect that you need less medication. And this is probably my favorite one. And this article that came up in, again, the Journal of Nutritional Metabolism, this is in December of 2008, but they did 49 volunteers, and with this one, 49 completed the study. They started with more, but you have some that dropped out. But when they looked at that, those on the ketogenic diet, actually, the changes in their blood sugar were so great that you could say they saw results in 95.2%. And they compared it to the ideal low glycemic diet that was put out by the American Diabetes Association. That only got 62% results. It were higher results. And you think, 62 versus 95. Well, they're close, it's a little more. Well, think about those that didn't get results. And then the numbers are even bigger, because on one of them, 4.8% didn't get results. And on the other one, 38% didn't get results. So which do you want to choose? And that's why I get so excited about this ketogenic diet and all of the information that's out there that's in the medical journals that really I get excited about. But again, as great as the information is, really where it's about is results. We don't want results just on a test tube. I don't want results just on a study. I want results with real people in real life. And when we can help people achieve that, to me, that's something we ought to be shouting from the rooftops and telling the whole world about. I mean, just imagine how much less medical costs we'll have if we could repair myelin in the brain and in the nerves. Just imagine what will happen if we can help people have more stable blood sugar levels. And if they think clearer, you know, a lot of the kind of the uncounted costs of disease and uncounted costs of people being unhealthy is a lack of productivity. So many people say this, and I'm sure that Sarah and Jeremy see this all the time too. When they're in ketosis, when you're feeling better, it's like you're surviving on less sleep. I feel like I've got an extra 2 hours of productive time a day with this, and I'm not even, you know, the champion, one of those that's lost 100 pounds. I'm still in the 20, 30 pound range, but I love how I feel and I love the energy that I get. And I'm excited that I can get there because before, when I tried the ketogenic diet without this, you know, with a meal that was easy to make, it made it easier. But I wasn't getting the better results until I had some of those other things that helped really shift, that's helping shift people into ketosis. And I've been so excited about all the people that are getting great results and they never even have to experience the keto flu. Now, again, I'm going to say that's not true for everybody. Some people still go through it, but if they're using those exogenous ketones like the keto fizz through it, most of them, if you're going through that keto flu and you're using the exogenous ketones, they won't even feel it. The energy just picks back up. That's one of the reasons it's just a favorite product for me. And I just love to see that we can help people with that. And again, I feel like shouting it from the rooftops. And so I get so excited when we get natural doctors that are coming on board and not just embracing the ketogenic lifestyle, but actually saying, okay, how can we help more people do it more effectively? And if at the same time you make a bigger difference for people where they're getting better results quicker and it's better for your practice, to me, that's a win-win. And I love to see that with the ketogenic diet when it's great for the patients and it's great for the practice, but we have to put the people first. It's always the people first, right? I'm never excited about those fields of medicine where they make, you know, they make their money whether or not people get results or not. Let's make it about people. And you know, doing a surgery, well, oh, I'm sorry, that didn't work, but it was a, you know, it's $50,000 surgery. It's not like, oh, that didn't work, let's give you your money back. It never happens that way, right? With a lap band surgery. And so many, I had one of my teachers that said this: you do the lap band surgery and you track it. People lose a lot of weight and then they pass away. They lose a lot of weight and they pass away because now they're malnourished, right? They haven't fixed any of the problems. They just don't have as big of a stomach. And so he says, you really want to reverse those cravings. You want to give them the nutrients they need so they're not physically full and going to the refrigerator to see what looks good. So they're, you know, they're eating their meal and they're like, oh, I'm good. And they'll leave some extra, some left over just because they don't feel like eating it, and they'll save it for later. And so many people in the ketogenic lifestyle, myself included, save so much money on their food bill. You know, I always ask this question: do you ever spend money on food? Because a lot of people say, well, how much do your products cost? Again, the question: do you ever spend money on food? And the answer universally is, yeah, I spend money on food all the time. My older brother, who's a plumber, and would go from one appointment to the next appointment and stop at Starbucks or McDonald's or Maverick and get some kind of carbonated beverage, something to keep him going. He said he was spending $20 a day on different things to keep him going. And with this, his blood sugar that was at 200 had come down to 100 in about a month, and he felt so good. And he dropped a whole bunch of weight. And he said, and I'm saving $20 a day on all of this snacking. You know, he says, yeah, I spend a little bit on the products, but I save so much more over here that if you can help people do that and they feel better, it's better for their pocketbook. They're eating better nutrition, you know, and that's one of the things I love about the shake, as it all came together, that it's not just high fat, but it's non-GMO high fat. It's grass-fed whey, not just whey, grass-fed whey. And there's a big difference. You can't walk into a Walmart and say, hey, I want your non-GMO dairy. They don't have a section with non-GMO dairy. It's all the GMO dairy, all the stuff that's just fed from the cows that, well, grain-fed cows, not grass-fed cows. They're grain-fed, and they're fed with genetically modified crops, and they're fed with pesticides and herbicides, and it's not as healthy for you. I mean, this is kind of the food I think that Mother Nature would want us to have. It's the kind of food I want to feed my kids. So even today, We were going to have lunch, and I love to ask my kids, "Hey, does anybody want a shake?" And my little boy loves the banana shake. They've got a banana fiber powder. It's a glucomannan fiber instead of a harsh fiber that can scratch up the bill. It's this rubbery fiber, and it's a great mix-in with the shake. But I made the shake, threw in a scoop of that to make it banana flavored, and he loved it. And he comes back and asks for more, and I like that I can give it to him. And when instead of feeding our kids cereal, if we feed them more fat in the morning, they're going to have better energy. They're going to have better concentration at school. They're going to do better. I mean, studies have shown you feed the brain, you can increase IQ points by up to 50 points. Now, that's not, I should say this is a disclaimer. These studies that I get so excited about aren't on a specific product. They're on the ketogenic lifestyle. They're on nutrients. They're on uh, essential nutrients, many of them. But we get so excited about them. When it comes to the products, we don't link the products with diseases, but I get so excited about making sure we get real results with real people. And it starts in the home. For me, it was for me. It's for my family. It's for my kids. You can see we've got pictures all over the wall with them. And they talk about this with hormonal support because so many people struggle with infertility because of hormonal imbalances. And I actually, my wife and I were one of those couples. We spent a year with fertility clinic, a very famous fertility clinic. Where a good friend of mine had great success with it, and we had no success. I mean, a year, and my wife was a real trooper, and it wasn't a comfortable process for her. It was an expensive process, and still nothing to show for me. But when we got into nutrition, now we have 3 kids with no help from fertility clinics, and just absolutely, that's absolutely changed my life. But you see that all the time when you look at hormonal imbalances with the ketogenic diet because you're giving the body cholesterol and good fats. Your body actually uses that to make a master hormone uh, that can turn into estrogen, it can turn into progesterone, it can turn into testosterone. And so anybody that needs any of that support, when you get the master hormone with healthier levels, your body will be more efficient. And you see that all the time. There's one study that was actually doing on some women that had a very specific condition. And again, I'm not saying the name of it because we're talking about products here. But on this study during this condition, 40% of these women became pregnant without any fertility help. That couldn't get pregnant before unless they had fertility help. And they had 40% of them. They weren't trying to get pregnant. And we know just eating keto doesn't make you pregnant, right? There's other pieces to that. But when your hormone levels are healthier, it can help with so many things. I remember being in a lecture with one of my teachers, and he asked the question, how many of you suffer from PMS? And there was one young man who kind of sheepishly raised his hand, and they said, "What? You have PMS?" No, he said, "I don't have it. I just suffer from it." And he kind of looked from the young lady that was sitting next to him, right? But how many times when one person in the family isn't feeling good, does it affect the whole family? And I mean, Sarah and Jeremy can say that. You take care of your family, you do whatever needs to be done. But if you can help your family members feel better, you can make a world of difference for you, all the family. Even those that weren't sick before, because now mom and dad are healthier, or your uncle is healthier, grandma and grandpa are healthier. And that's why I get so excited and passionate about this. And you can kind of tell that this is something that's near and dear to my heart because my father had a heart attack, and he got on nutrition, got better, and then had the opportunity to be on one of these drug studies. And on the drug study, the free medical care, and money's tight, so free medical care was nice, but they took him off all nutrition. And then he said to me, he's partway through the studies, and he was getting worse and worse and worse. And he says, "Blake, I'm going to quit the study. I want to get off the study. I want to get back on the nutrition." And I said to him, well, Dad, next time I see you, I'll bring you something. We weren't living in the same town. Money was tight for me at the same time. And so I thought, okay, I'll come up and see him again. And had so much confidence in nutrition. I never thought that it would be too late. But that was the last time I saw my father alive. And that was one of the things that steered me in the direction that I am, was just that passion. What if we can help people avoid that point of no return, right? What if we can help people make a difference while there's still time? And one of my teachers said it this way: people would say, my mother's 80, is there still hope? And he would always say, as long as there's blood flow, there's hope. It's worth trying. Why don't we try? And that's one of the things that I would say to everybody out there: give it a shot, try it and see if you can improve digestion. There's a world of things that can change with better digestion. You can improve blood sugar levels. There's a world of things that can change. You can improve brain support, right? There's a world of things that can change. It's not just one or two things. And how many people out there are praying for a loved one, or maybe praying for themselves and looking for answers, and they just don't know where those answers are, or they keep going back to the same place where they weren't getting results and looking for answers there. I always think they're talking about a second opinion. The second opinion should never be in the same field where you got your first opinion. You need to go out and get a second opinion, and hopefully from a natural doctor. But I actually think the natural approach really should be our first opinion. And it's only after we try the natural one, which is safer and works with the body. And if you're less than happy there, then you go and look at some of the symptomology and look at that second opinion. Should be the allopathic medicine. The pharmaceutical drug should be, in my opinion, the second choice, not our first choice. We shouldn't choose symptom management over getting to the root cause of things first. We should look at symptom health. I mean, taking a painkiller doesn't fix a broken bone. We all know that. Yet how many times when people have bone issues do they just take a painkiller? And that's all they do. What if we did something to actually help the body repair itself? And that's why I love the ketogenic diet, because it works on so many levels with the brain support, the hormonal support, the blood sugar support. And I mean, Dr. Chris, I could get into this and share with you, because I've actually got, I don't know, there's probably 100 different slides I could talk about with all of this research in the medical journals. That's just absolutely amazing. Recently with troubled kids, and I'm just going to call it troubled kids because we're trying to avoid the names of diseases, but kids that can't concentrate, that don't interact with the world around them, that we're finding this little bubble, and they're often put into a special care system because they're not learning and growing like other children are. And with the ketogenic diet and that brain support, just the changes that it can have. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the Magic Pill documentary, but there was one a young child in there that they talked about specifically, and you can actually see the changes from her not speaking before to getting on the ketogenic diet. And understand, on the ketogenic diet, one thing that is important, and a lot of people that'll sometimes do this wrong, will say, I just need to eat high fat. And so they'll grab bad fats. They'll grab margarine and oxidated oils and things, and those are bad for you. But on this documentary, they did the good fats. They went the natural foods, got off the processed foods, and to just see the change in that girl and how she was interacting. And the father was so excited. He's like, I've got a 6-year-old that for the first time is starting to interact and learn, and it's like she's at 2 years in development because she hasn't been able to interact. She hasn't had all of the stimulus from the outside, and now at the age of 6 she's starting to learn. And he just to see the joy in her father's eyes in that documentary, and you see that all the time. I'm like, why aren't we doing this with all the kids that are going through this? And I mean, with some of those conditions, the research is just brand new. Are
you familiar with the movie First Do No Harm?
Oh no, I'm not familiar with that one. I've seen other documentaries, but I will take a look at that movie. Is that another documentary?
It's kind of a cross between a movie and a documentary, and it's based on a true story. The child being treated in the medical setting with epileptic seizures that were getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where the doctors basically said, you need to, decide on the final decisions that are going to be made, that your child's not going to be around but maybe a few more days. And the mother had done a lot of research, actually took her child to Johns Hopkins University, where they were doing some really cool things with epileptic seizures. And basically the gist of it was putting them on a ketogenic diet. And she brought her child there, and within, I don't remember the exact 3 to 7 days, child never had an epileptic seizure ever again. And at the end credits of the movie, 3/4 of the actors in the movie were actually part of the original program. 37 years without an epileptic seizure ever again, and 25 years, 15 years, over and over and over again. These people came back to be a part of the movie, and it's such a tragedy that one of the biggest teaching hospitals in the country at Johns Hopkins University, and seeing such traumatic or dramatic differences in brain health using that ketogenic diet. It's just not such mainstream information that, taught in medical school, taught in just basic kindergarten, because it's just such an important piece of health and making kind of changes with people. So
Yeah, and I saw that with a good friend of mine. He actually has a son that's epileptic and was having 60 seizures a day, and finally took him to the doctor, and they put him on pharmaceuticals. And he said he went from having a vibrant 3-year-old that had seizures to, within 2 weeks, a 3-year-old that was crying all the time, that was mopey all the time, wasn't having seizures, but he wasn't the same child. And then the doctors told him by the age of 5, you can expect brain damage. And he's like, what? Brain damage? What am I doing to my son here? He's not the child he's supposed to be. And they said, well, is there anything else we can do? And they first said, no, we don't have anything else. We just have these drugs. So on his own, he found the ketogenic diet and went back to the doctors and said, I've done my research and I found this, and I think this is what we want to do. And when he said that, they said, oh yeah, we have that program. We have that program. We use it, but we want you to fail 3 drugs before you go on this program. And he says, no, I'm not doing that to my child. And so they let him into the program after only 1 drug, failing 1 drug, if you will. And he said within 6 months, there was such a change in his child that he had stopped having seizures completely within 6 months on the program. And then he went to, his child's now probably 6 now, and playing soccer, and probably 2.5 years completely seizure free, and absolutely loves the change from 60 seizures a day to seizure free. And that's on the this ketogenic diet. And he said, though, it's a very expensive program, because if you do it at the clinic, and there was a great clinic in Utah where I was living at the time, Primary Children's Hospital, that actually does this. But there's a waiting list for it. You're supposed to fail 3 drugs first, because let's try the drugs first, because there's a bigger profit margin in those, right? Mm-hmm. Not that it's better for the kids, but it's better for the medical profession. It's better for it's better for the hospital, right? Because there's more profit in the drugs. They're made at a cheaper price, sold at a higher price. That's what patents will do, right? There's more profit in the drugs, so let's do that first. And if that doesn't work for 3 different drugs, then we'll put you on the waiting list for this ketogenic program. But they were doing, for a child-sized meal, $8 a meal. And that's why he says a lot of families couldn't even do it. $8 a meal for the child. I mean, if you think of that, that's 24 day times 30 days. I mean, you're $750 just for that one child, let alone everybody else. And it was a big cost. And that's nothing compared to some of the other, prescription drugs you could be on. They'd be much more expensive. But what if we bring that way down? What if we can bring that, an adult size portion? You're probably $3 a meal for a fantastic, to me, even a better program, because it's the non-GMO, it's the grass-fed way, and do that. And then for the children, right? Obviously they're not eating as much, so it's even cheaper for them. To me, just putting it in the hands of the people, making it affordable, getting the information out there to them, and helping them get results is where it's all at. And they don't even have some of the things, like in that program. They're not using the exogenous ketones. They don't do the keto energy capsule, like I call it, that burn baby burn, as we like to say. And that's just a meal replacement. And now we can do so much more and help so many more people. But you're absolutely right, Dr. Chris, that this is one where I think people need to get the education. And if they haven't done it, that documentary you just mentioned, I went and looked it up while you're speaking there, and yeah, it looks fantastic. It's an hour and a half long. There was that other documentary from the BBC over in England where another gentleman did it, and that's only 28 minutes long. I think the Magic Pill is probably an hour long. And you're going to see more and more of these come up, because the results are just undeniable. But at the same time, there's also going to be propaganda against it. Instead of saying, oh, look, if you get healthier on the ketogenic diet, you don't need as many prescriptions. They say, no, I wouldn't do the ketogenic diet because you could overdose on your prescriptions. When you're healthier and you don't need as many, if you're taking the same amount, you'd be taking too much, right? And that's why I say you just have to pay attention to the sources and make sure that you're working with people who are excited about results and are looking at those results, and not just ones that, one of the doctors that we work with explains it this way, and I love him because he's actually trained in Western medicine, but also embraced nutrition and the ketogenic diet. And he said, a good doctor should be one that gets people off of medication, not one that puts people on medication. And helping people feel better naturally, to me, is a fantastic place to start.
It's kind of interesting. You can take just about any disease process out there, whether it's cancer. We know that cancer eats sugar, and it's not always this is a cure for cancer, but when you cut out its food supply, it can't grow as well. Or with diabetes, everybody knows that it's a sugar problem. Cardiovascular disease, you're going to ultimately be putting down plaque because of the amount of sugar and insulin that's creating destruction in the lining of the arteries. And so you protect yourself so you don't bleed to death. You're putting cholesterol plaques there. And we can go on and on all day. You've got that group of people that they hit that tipping point, just like Sarah was at, where you get to the point where there's no other choice. I'm absolutely going to follow this as strict as I can, and they get amazing results and come back from sometimes the brink of death and have an incredibly vital life. We also a lot of times in that more functional medicine world will see the difficult patients that have never gotten any real benefit from all the drugs or surgery or what Western medicine has to offer. And that's good and well. What about that group of people that are kind of like on that slide that you had started out with, where they have general brain fog and their energy is not there, and they're just not to the point where I'll do anything? Because sometimes you need a little extra motivation to follow a ketogenic diet and keep that carbohydrate low. Sometimes I'll tell people, it's not that you can't eat food that tastes great. You could have some food that absolutely tastes better than you could imagine. It's just not eating the breads and the sugars and the ho-hos and cupcakes and ding-dongs and all the other things that go into that category. How do you, because you've helped and seen so many people do this, what's the difference between taking somebody who is not at a place of, I'll do anything that it'll take, meaning 2 o'clock in the morning and there's brownies in the cupboard and I'm just going to raid the cupboard in the middle of the night? How do you make the difference with those people? What's the difference between seeing the result and being able to follow through consistently? Because obviously consistency is really the name of the game when you're talking about health or almost anything in the world these days. If you can only follow something for 2 or 3 days, then you're really going to be at a lack for the kind of results that you're looking for. So, do you have any thoughts on that? Anybody that's on the call?
Yeah. There's a couple just from my experience, and then I think Sarah and Jeremy probably have some as well. But one of the things that you see, and you call it consistency in the medical profession, they talk about compliance, right? We give people an instruction of things to do, and how many actually follow those instructions. And this is something that I believe it's been my experience in the last 26 years, and as this natural health journalist, and why I get excited about this, is because education makes a big difference. So many times when you're talking about natural health, you're talking about things that go against the misdirection that the people have been taught for decades. We're supposed to eat low fat. I see healthy low fat, right, all the time. Cholesterol is supposed to be bad for us. And we have to do a good job of education and continue to do that education, or people just get overwhelmed by the other influences they have. I love that there's a phrase for what is common sense in Japanese, that the characters for it really are something that you're always conscious of. It's not about whether or not it's right. Before Columbus discovered America, what shape did we think the world was? And it was common sense that it was flat. But if everybody is wrong and you do the same thing as everybody else, you still get the wrong results, right? Just because everybody else is doing it doesn't make it right. You need to look at results. And this is something that I get excited about. And if it's okay, I'll share one more screen, because when I talk about education, I think there's a few tools that we need. Those documentaries that we've been talking about, people need to have those in their repertoire, in their quiver, if you would, so they can share it with other people. If you have people that come in, many of the doctors that I work with, that actually give them a homework assignment. Okay, I'm going to give you Here's the treatment, here's your natural, your supplements, here's the things that'll help you, and here's your homework. Go home and watch this video. Go home and listen to this CD. Go home and read this book. Because if we don't educate people, they're going to forget. We have the God-given ability to forget, which is great when you've got trauma in your past. You don't have to dwell on it the whole time. We can move past that. But it means that if you want something to stay at the forefront of your mind, you have to put some time and energy into it. We don't go to church every Sunday because we forget everything from the Sunday before, right? We go to church because we like that reminder. We like to be in that environment. And I'm sure Sarah and Jeremy can talk about the support network, but I just wanted to share with you one of those articles that I love to share with people. And this is one that really changed for me this whole how we educate people, like about cholesterol, because so many people, oh, fat, you're supposed to stay away from that. My doctor says don't do that. But this one that I just have gotten so excited about, with brain support. Let me see. There we go. Can you see this slide? This is from
Yep.
Time Magazine. This Time Magazine is one of probably the best articles when it starts talking about cholesterol. And I love what they did. They put it on the cover story. Scientists labeled fat the enemy, why they were wrong. The cover story is eat butter. And go through and look at this from some of these doctors and some of the quotes. The argument against fat was totally, completely flawed. Dr. Robert Lustig, a pediatrician, the president of the Institute for Responsible Nutrition. Research shows that eating fat doesn't make us fat. And this is again from Dr. David Ludwig, director of obesity prevention now, right? Americans were told to cut back on fat to lose weight, prevent heart disease. There's an overwhelmingly strong case to be made for the opposite. In fact, in that Magic Pill documentary, they said, you look at the stats, right? In America, we have cut back on the fat. We use more statin drugs. But what's happened to diseases? Have they gone down? No, they're going the other way. And on page 31 there, it says new research suggests it's the overconsumption of carbohydrates, sugar, and sweeteners that is chiefly responsible for the epidemics of obesity and type 2 diabetes. And it's refined carbohydrates that encourage the body to store calories as fat and an intense hunger. And I mean, all this is from the same article. This is one that I love to have people read the entire article and get that from it, because it's a simple concept. When you eat fat, you burn fat. You eat fat, you burn fat. You eat carbs, you store fat. It's simple, but so many people think, oh, eating fat makes me fat, and it's not true. It's just not true. So that's where we talk about all of these real fat and the things to get. But that education is such a big deal. And I just wanted to share that I like to use some of those documentaries. I like to use some of those articles. I'm actually working on putting together one of these doctors that I mentioned that's been doing ketogenic for much longer than I've even heard of it. And I go back even before, I'm 5-6 years into this, into hearing about this and starting on the research in it. But this doctor's well over a decade into it, and actually using it in his practice, and had the opportunity to we're actually creating a booklet, and it won't mention any company names, it won't mention any company products. It's just strict education on the benefits of the ketogenic lifestyle. But I think it's so important that we have some tools that we can help educate people, because that'll help with compliance. And then the other thing that's a big deal, if you want people to stay with the program, get a buddy and do it with a buddy. Be part of a group. That's one of the things that's really made this, to me, what we've been doing with Wakaya so effective for so many people. And this is something Jeremy even mentioned. He got involved in one of the challenges and said, okay, let's be part of this. And when you have that support network, it's easier to do what you should do. People exercise more when they have a trainer. They exercise more if they have somebody else to exercise with them. They'll do better when there's some accountability, someone to partner with. Life isn't made to run on your own. And in fact, if you look at the Chinese and Japanese characters for person or man, it's one line supporting another. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to support each other. And that support network can be a big deal in helping people get results. And so with that, probably having Jeremy and Sarah share some of their tips in helping people get better results and be more consistent would probably be a great, I'd love to hear from them as well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you, Blake. Yeah, the one big thing is our community of support is so amazing because, like I said, I did talk about Owen, and then we also have Christy Kaminsky. She's actually from The Bachelor. She's also helping Owen with our exercises and the training program and things that we're involved with, and motivational speaking, things like that. Just helping people to have a great positive attitude. We've got a group right now, a Facebook group that's got over, I think, 15,000 people, close to it, if not more, in it right now. And it's just a daily inspirational place where people can just come together and offer support for people. If people have questions about the ketogenic lifestyle, about products, anything like that, want to know more information, it's just a great place to be. We've got the spot where you can put ketogenic recipes on there for people that are into cooking. We're more on the go, but we do get occasionally a chance to cook too, so we do that too. So yeah, it's just a great place for people to come together with the mutual agreement that keto is the lifestyle that we want to do for ourselves. So did you want to add anything onto that?
Yeah, and I think it's important too, because if that person's not ready to change, like Blake says, it's about the people, it's about your family, it's about who you love, and if you don't change, are you going to be there for them? And I think tools are so incredibly important to share with people, because another thing Blake says is we educate, they decide. So if we have the tools to share with people, and we know the amazing health benefits of the ketogenic lifestyle, and then we can share with people. And sometimes they just need a little bit more information. We actually ask people, we say on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to lose weight and get healthy? If they say 8, 9, 10, well, they're probably ready to get started, right? But if they say, 5, 6, 7, they need more information. And that's our job, to be able to share with them, what we know. And the cool thing is we don't have to be the experts. We have these amazing tools at hand in the company. We have these amazing experts like Blake Graham and some of the other doctors in our company. And I love that we don't have to be the expert, and the other thing too, I think with Wakaya is we have something that's so convenient and easy on the go. Because a lot of people, they try keto and they fail because it can be hard, right, to count all those different macros, and it gets expensive when they go to the grocery store. But if they have a perfect, delicious meal replacement like we do with the keto fuel, it just takes the guesswork out of eating keto. It makes it a lot easier for them to follow. And when they're not having those cravings, right, and they're feeling better, they're having the energy, they're losing the weight, they're seeing the results, then they're not going to want to quit, And, if they have a mess up, where they mess up, and have one of those Twinkies or, ding dongs or whatever, they have
the keto fizz inside ketones in case they do mess up, to help them stay in ketosis. One great thing about this too, it's got the perfect macros. There's a lot of misinformation out there about keto and macros and things like that, but we've actually found our doctor that we work with, he actually found the perfect ratio for ketosis for everybody. So generally it's 70% healthy, 75% healthy fats, 20% proteins, healthy proteins, and 5% carbohydrates. So generally what he's found is the ideal carbohydrates that you want to consume in a day is about 20 grams per day, to stay in the weight loss mode. But then there's also, people, weightlifters and things like that, who can consume more carbohydrates and things like that. So generally there's a few things that it's specific for each diet, so depending on what you want to do. But one other support avenue that we have, which is amazing, is we have some amazing training videos that explain just what kind of foods are good, what kind of foods are bad. Because ultimately that's like the biggest challenge for people, is not knowing how to read a label and not knowing what's good. I mean, like you mentioned with the oils, certain oils, like they're not good for you. Like you want olive oils, you want to stay away from like the vegetable oils, things like that. Just basic things. Education, yeah. Like Sarah said and Blake says all the time, we educate and people decide. So,
and I even think one of the things that are so fun is that you can get all that information from all the doctors in the company, but then you'll get Jeremy and Sarah. You'll just dress up and make something that's a ketogenic chocolate on a video, and it might be a 2 or 3 minute video on just how to make it. Like, I'm craving bread. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to show you how to make some ketogenic bread today. It doesn't have to be a 3 hour long video. It's a couple minutes long, show you how to do something, keep it fun, keep it real, that people can actually do in their lifestyle and not have to spend 10 hours in the kitchen either. And I think that that's really helpful, to watch you guys do that on a regular basis. You're on video multiple times a day, it seems like, doing short little clips like that really help a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and one other thing that I always like to say is when you're doing something for a result, that pay attention to the results and go back to people and don't be afraid to troubleshoot. Sometimes you have to do an adjustment. I have a number of people that get on the program, and they don't realize that they're not actually eating ketogenic. They think they're eating ketogenic, but they're really eating high protein. Their fat content is like 1-to-1 with fat and protein, and they're like, "Oh, I had the chicken Caesar salad, right? I didn't put the croutons on it. I didn't have the bread on it. Why am I not getting the results that my friend Becky is getting, or my cousin Joe is getting? Why am I not getting those results?" And then with a little bit of troubleshooting, they realize, oh, wow, I've got a great low carb meal. I just don't have a high fat meal. And a little bit of that adjustment, maybe increasing how many shakes they take, can make a world of difference. Sometimes it's increasing the salt. One thing that's a big deal for me in so many different areas is working on this whole concept of digestion and detox, because let's face it, there's a lot of chemicals in our food from agriculture, right? Pesticides and herbicides. And if you don't repair the damage that's done to the digestive tract, especially since if you look back to 1996, they actually approved, and they don't even call it a chemical, they just call it an enzyme, but it's designed to melt the digestive tract of insects, and it was approved in 1996. And how it works in agriculture, they've actually passed a protection act that if you eat genetically modified food or pesticides or herbicides and they cause damage, there's no liability to the company that created it. There's absolutely no liability. So even though you see 1-800 bad drug, right? Have you been injured by a drug? Call here, we'll help you sue, because the lawyers make some money when you sue. There's none of that for pesticides. If you've been injured by pesticides, because there's absolute protection for that. And so with all that damage that goes on, we've got to repair. We just got to repair. And that's why those people that are doing the ginger, the turmeric, the extra, some of the clay that help pull those toxins out, they get by far better results. And we see this over and over again. And it's interesting when you look at even turmeric. One of the things that's beautiful about turmeric, it's liver support. Well, where does your body break fat down into ketones? And there's 2 steps. It's fat into triglycerides. So you say people, oh, my triglycerides are high. Well, why are they high? Because your body's trying to go to ketosis. That's why it's high. Your body's trying to get ready. It's like this blood sugar keeps going up and down. I want to get into ketosis. But you've got to help the liver then have the nutrients. So it'll take those triglycerides and break them down into ketones. And that's one of the things Jeremy mentioned there. He mentioned it. If you fall off the wagon, you want to get back on, those exogenous ketones are fantastic. But it's also fantastic if you're trying to get on the wagon in the first place. When you're trying to get there without having that keto flu, without having, I remember being at an expo and talking with a lady, and she was like, "Oh, I loved how I felt on ketosis, but the first 2 weeks were so miserable. I haven't been able to commit to do that again." Well, what if there was a way to do it with less misery to get you there faster, right? Faster, better results, and that's one of the things that keto fizz can be absolutely fantastic with, and why I use it, because I remember, I'm being on the program, and I was on it for 3 months and feeling great, and then had one of those days that it wasn't even carbs. It was going out to eat with my family, and it was at an all-you-can-eat Chinese place, and I was done after about 10 minutes. The kids kept going back, so I went back too, and found these like chicken shish kebabs, and it's just protein. There's no carbs. It wasn't deep fried or anything. But, you eat enough, and one of the doctors we work with actually says you get a meal where you hit over that 30 grams of protein, and it seems like that triggers that insulin response, and I felt it. I mean, I suddenly got sleepy. I'm like, I hadn't been getting sleepy after meals in 3 months, and suddenly I had it after that meal. And so when you understand some of those concepts, or when that happens, you reach out to a support product and help you get better results. Because, if you look at all the tools we have in society, we have smartphones, we have computers, we have cars, we have TVs, we have all these things because it makes our life easier. It makes our life better. And that's exactly what good products should do for you with the ketogenic lifestyle as well. It should make it easier. It should make it better. It make it actually in many cases more affordable because we're not having to spend as much money trying to find something to make us feel good when you feel good from the beginning. And that's why digestion is just a big key if you want better results with people. And that's, we talk about it with the education. There's so many webinars you can go. We even do one, actually every week, we do a webinar on the Wakaya products, so people can see how do I get started with it, and what can I do to get started on the products, and they can even ask questions there via chat and have other people answer those. So don't feel like you have to do it alone, and understand there's built-in support networks that if you'll just be a part of them, if you just plug into them, we can help people get better results than most of them have probably ever thought possible, and especially if they're working with somebody like you, Dr. Chris, that understands natural healing and understands how to help people with disease states, then you can help them get better results than ever before. Because, as great as nutrition is, it's not everything. As great as eating keto is, it's not everything. I mean, Jeremy mentioned he started to exercise, got better results. There are other things you can do to help you get better results. And I like the concept of holistic medicine because it brings in the whole piece, all of the pieces together. And your Wakaya can do a lot of it, but yeah, there are other things you can do to make it more effective. And that's why it's great when you have doctors like you that are into natural healing and natural health, and will help people with the ketogenic diet. Because sometimes they might want to measure their blood sugar and actually see where they're at. Don't just guess. Sometimes you can actually measure. And if your results aren't what you want them to be, then you have to do some adjustments. The beautiful thing is there's enough people that have done this before that if you know where you're at and you know where you want to be, then we can help you with the change needed to help you get to where you want to be.
I really can't thank you guys enough for being on. I think that a lot of the information that we went over ultimately will help a lot of people not only get on the right track and have a little bit better understanding that this type of a lifestyle is sustainable and one of the healthiest choices that most people can make. I know that Sarah and Jeremy are a part of my upline, and they're a resource for me to be able to utilize, and as well as a lot of the doctors and patients that I've got. I know that they've offered to be able to help that way. I'm obviously here to help however I can as well. I do know that they can go directly to the website. I know mine specifically is drchris, so drchris.mywakaya.com. They can find out more information there. Absolutely can get tapped into some of the Facebook groups and some of those calls that you mentioned, and be able to take those steps forward and have a lot of help along the way. So I'm really excited about that, and I can't thank you guys enough for taking the time to get on.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you having us on. And they can actually go to your website too, drchris.secrettofatloss.com. And there's a 10-minute video that actually shows how our BlueFit products work synergistically with the ketogenic lifestyle. It's a great video. Mm-hmm. And for anyone that's interested in the opportunity aspect, you can go to drchris.mywakaya.com/opportunity, and there's a 13-minute opportunity video if you're interested in learning how to make money as well.
Which is real exciting because you guys both have made this your entire life now, and you're both retired from the normal 9-to-5 job, which is that much more exciting as well. So absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome. It's been a blessing. So just being able to do what we can do and just help change other people's lives, because that's really what it's all about. That's what life's all about.
Just making a difference, being a blessing in people's lives, and it really truly is about the people. Thank you so much, Blake, for getting on.
Thank you. And if there's anything I can do to help Dr. Chris with, if you want to look at some of the research that we've come across, again, when you're working with a medical professional, a health professional, you can talk about things that as just somebody that's working with a product can't necessarily talk about. And so you can actually access a lot more information than we can often share with the Wakaya ambassadors. But there's so much fantastic information out there. And if I can do anything to help make your job easier and more effective, I'd love to do it, because everybody that's out there that's trying to help people get better results with their health, that's trying to help people feel like they should, to me, is really, we're on the same page. Even if you're not in the same if you think organization, in Wakaya, we're all part of the same family. And so we believe in working together. And if there's something I can do to help, please let me know. I'd love to get on and help you again with other webinars. The one thing I do is, since I'm not a doctor, is I don't put diseases and products together. Sometimes if we're going to talk about diseases, we won't include any products, and we can share great information there. But when we're talking about diseases, keep the products out. And if you're talking, want to talk about products, we're going to keep the disease out. So as long as we keep that division in there, we're great to share wonderful information. And I'd love to help you any way that I can.
That'd be great. Thank you so very much.
Yes, and I just wanted to add one more thing too. Just a quick disclaimer too on just our weight loss success, because we did mention the time frame. We're exercising, per the Bulafit ketogenic lifestyle, per our fitness ambassador Owen McKibben. And average weight loss and typical weight loss is generally 1 to 2 pounds per week. Granted, everyone's different, so everyone's results vary. So they will, and they definitely can vary. So just remember that.
Absolutely. Well, I'll make sure that you guys can pass along Blake's information, and we can stay in touch and maybe do some other non-product webinars that actually we can dive a little bit deeper into some different disease processes, and not even really talk about product, just specifically the ketogenic lifestyle in association with those as well. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, and goodbye.